everybody, and welcome to the Lessons from Leaders podcast. My guest today, we have Rick James, and Rick has an unbelievable career and track record. And I say that because we played the same sport. We both did decathlon, coming up. And now Rick has advanced to a C-suite professional, 10 years president at Simutech Group, and now the chief innovation officer at the firm. So Rick has an unbelievable amount of lessons and knowledge to share, which we'll dive into. But Rick, thank you so much for joining, man.
I love that you started with a pun. You said a great track record. I'm sure that was Freudian because of the Decathlon connection. So love that. Tracks has an outside's influence on my life. I was trying to think of more puns, but I look forward to chatting.
Yeah, it's amazing too. We just found this out. We had this one of the same coaches. So one of my, coaches who even walked me through coming back from an injury and being a mentor to me was one of Rick's coaches as well back in the day.
Yeah, Dave Chinelli, one of the most influential men in my life. When I think about all the great professors, I mean, bachelor's, master's, doctorate degree, and had some phenomenal professors. But when I think about people that influenced my life and had an outsized impact on me, I think of the way that Chinelli trusted me, coached me, encouraged me, kicked my ass. Those things that you really want from somebody. And there's also that point, like I wanted to perform for this man, like I really wanted to, and I think being able to that says more about Chinelli than me. Here's somebody that I wanted to perform for, and I think getting the inner motivation, and he'd come up and maybe did to you, he'd tap you on your heart like that, and talk to you and say, "Hey, man, it's right here." So I think just being able to take those lessons of having the power of a good mentor, which he was more than a mentor, as a mentoring coach, I differentiate, but I think just being able to have that and wanting to take that to people that I get to interact with, not as a athletic coach, but certainly in the business and engineering world. So
Yeah. Yeah. And you talk about Cianelli. I think that's why the guy won so many championships. You go into his office, you see the whole wall is full
yeah,
of rings and trophies. And I feel like we learned a lot from him. He was always even keeled. It wasn't crazy emotion a lot of the times. It was, we believe in you. And then everybody wanted to perform for him. It was the feeling.
I appreciated that. I knew I knew what to expect when I talked to him. I mean, he had um, I don't want to spend the whole time talking about Chinelli, but there is like this outsized influence and what a crazy, that we both had this experience with him. But I think even what I appreciate about him and others like him were consistency of approach. Like when he showed up or when I showed up, like there was I knew what to expect. I think, and some of that wasn't just consistency. Is like if I screwed up, I knew to expect that he would say something about it. And I think that's one of the things, and maybe that has more to do with my innate personality of being a little more chill, aggressive, whatever, ambitious, whatever. But in terms of like the interpersonal side, and I've tried to be really consistent for my team, so they know, hey, when I show up, like I'm this, they know what to expect. I'm not a powder keg of roller coaster of emotions. Not to say the emotions aren't there, but just like in terms of that interpersonal side. So, but I think that's definitely one of those key things when I think about being a good leader. Is being consistent. And that's not without saying you're stoic completely or without change, but just that people know what to expect. And that's a key part of, I think, a bigger issue of trust, which is a great topic to hit in other areas, but that maybe is a core element there. Just it's one thing to be trustworthy, and it's another to trust. And I think that there's certainly kind of a symmetric relationship there.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing, a lot of times we'll talk about the early experiences you had shaping you as you move forward. So for you, having the success in your career, CEO for 10 years, now chief innovation officer, how do you see those early days or either in decathlon or just early in your career? How have those lessons transferred and continued to build as you've gone into the C-suite?
Whew. I think part of it's back to consistency is sometimes building a not a platform, but building a career, building an athletic career, business career. It starts with doing really important, boring things. Or just like fundamentals, in sports, or you're a football coach, blocking and tackling. Or I remember in T-ball, after a bad game, the coach would come back and say, "Men, this is a baseball," and we go back to fundamentals. So I think that's always true, and I think some of that's like maybe as a young professional or even an athlete, it's like, did you show up on time? Did you come prepared? Did you sleep well? Did you eat well? Like these are just basics. You can't even get past if you don't do this, don't go to second base, to continue to mix my metaphors. But I think having that, and then the next thing is like you're supposed to get this report by this day. Did you do it? And it's certainly the quality of it matters, but I'm talking like more intrinsic. So I think that ultimately, when you look at just building on top of this, then pretty soon, what a coach or a boss or a leader might think of you is, hey, this is somebody I can trust. This is a performer. This is somebody that actually follows through. When they say they're going to do it, they do it. Like, again, these are things that it's not necessarily I would say, when I say it's a generational issues, I'm not pointing at any one type of generation. I'm Gen X, but I'm more saying that I think every generation has to deal with that at some level, and some of that's just maturity as us as individuals in general. The maturity I thought it was as a 17-year-old is different than now. But so I think actually just having a long view, and as maybe the second point was just having a maybe not a personal strategy, but actually, are you trying to accomplish something? If I'm in my career, when I started with Simutech, there were 7 other people, and I wanted to grow in something. So asking my boss, "Hey, what does it take to accomplish this? Like, I want these things." So I think it's one thing to ask for it, but again, from my perspective, I really wanted to work for it. Didn't always know what to do, and sometimes that's just the nature of any job. Is there's the unwritten rules and the rules of the game, but I think just hard work never turns void. Doesn't always get what you want, but again, if you're not willing to work hard, it feels cliche to even say that. But so there's this working with trust in everything you do, working hard and having a strategy. And sometimes that strategy is overused. I think some of that strategy is actually in time, and maybe it's also in perspective, like thinking about the business side, the political side, the technical side, the interpersonal side. There's certainly kind of breadth and depth. Since I'm an engineer, I think of X and Y, but I won't say that anymore. But I don't know. I think that's the kind of the key part of any career development, and know that there's only so many things you can control, and the only thing that you actually control. Learn the school of hard knocks. I can control how I react and how I feel. Those are the things, and the fact that I've been laid off before. I've been, gone through crazy things with bosses that prevented promotions because I was too young, or these things like, wait a minute, no, I earned this, I deserve this. Oh man, that word deserve. That's a dangerous word. I think kind of got with the psychological side, but yeah, I think those are kind of the key elements. And again, those are not a comprehensive, but just some elements that jump out when you ask the question. And trust to me is such a vital part of any career, any relationship, but certainly on the professional side as well.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And for you, as you were coming up and you were building your career being in athletics and now moving forward, that consistency is huge where you kind of are how you show up every day. So you use the analogy in athletics where you're sleeping, eating right, training, all that. But as you shift forward, how do you instill that consistency in your team that you're leading now?
Yeah, I think sometimes sometimes you talk about it. So I think sometimes people don't know or don't fully understand why they're successful. And it sounds a little weird to say, but I've seen that where people that I think are really high performers. I'm like, yeah, because you show up to work every day on the not just on time, but like you're ready to go. And like, really? I was like, yeah, that's how I perceive them. So I think talking about it, or verbalizing, that certainly is one form of kind of validation, verbal check-ins. But I think also just verbal letting people know the standard. When I talk about people joining Simutech, a very culture-driven way, is like, hey, you are the culture now, but understand, like, there's a huge expectation that you show up and assimilate into our culture, but also expand our culture and be a part of it. So again, I think there's a verbal expectation part of that that's spoken. Um, so I think those are key things, and obviously in writing, I think is when we're a really small company, you could keep it verbal, and I think now without being bureaucratic, is you do more writing, more written expectations, and I think that helps alignment, and that helps if like, oh, I'm not just communicating to my team, isn't just these group of 11 professionals or whatever. There's like, oh, there's three more levels. And so how do you create a uniform vision, uniform task, uniform expectations with room, right, for flex, but just that we're all going the right direction. And I think that's true in the business world as well as sports. If everybody's not rowing in the same direction, again, mixing metaphors here, but that's it's not fun. But
Mhm.
my daughter's 14 right now and doing club volleyball, and they just came out of a tournament where they didn't perform that well, but they had this one moment, like it's a couple moments more than one, where they all just were locked in and just like totally had each other's back and did that. And I was like, yeah, that's the feeling. Like chase that feeling, like that teamwork, because you guys were all aligned, you all communicated well, you all so I think there's these things of the not the emotive part, but just like benefiting from a unified vision, that people are locked in. You have unified commitment, because it's even like Patrick Lencioni and a lot of business authors will talk about that, like where you don't have that, or even Nick Saban will talk about high. Underachievers can't stand high performers, and high performers can't stand underachievers. So there's maybe
Mhm.
two extremes to talk about, but I think it's true at middle of the road and high achievers. So once you can get that, you've got the right team, you have the right alignment, then you get to go have fun, because I think it's fun to win, whether you're in sales, whether you're a decathlete or on a tennis team, whatever. Like it's fun to win, and that's a fun thing to chase, and it's fulfilling and rewarding and valuable.
Yeah. Yeah, and you talk about, competition and winning. Before we hopped on, we were talking about, the innovation competitions that y'all have internally, where you're building things, you're testing things. So what does that look like for y'all? How are you sparking that for your employees?
Yeah, so I spent some time in R&D at Texas Instruments, and the one thing I loved about R&D is I'm an engineer, a mechanical engineer, and so I love building things. I had a three-story fort when I was a kid, had a fireplace, trapdoor, ceiling fans. It was ugly. It
That's
was smaller than our
amazing.
house. I was like 11 years old, and luckily my parents ran with it, let me do it. So I like to build things. I'm not that good of a technician, but it's fun. So I think one of the things I didn't like about a lot of R&D is it's hard to know. Oh, I published this report. A lot of that was, and I think that was the appealing part. And I was an application engineer for a while, and I closer to sales, and I love sales because you got a PO, you could ring the bell. They literally, my first job, they had a bell in the office you would ring. So that it felt very much like you knew when you were winning. So I love that winning feeling. And maybe I love it too much, like chase it sometimes. But so what we did was in Simutex, so we're about 220 people right now, and we sell engineering, design, analysis software, and we do consulting services around that. So we've done expert services on Deepwater Horizon and helped any consumer electronic out there. We've helped them design it, so that's kind of our business. But I think that ability to feel like, hey, how do you win? So back to that R&D kind of angle, like how do we take about 80 to 100 engineers in the company? There's so much talent. There's so much incredible, great attitude, but also like problem solvers. Hey, how do we capture that? Not just on the engineering side, but the sales, marketing, IT, and have some fun. So we created Shark Tank within our company. We just had let people, hey, form this small team and got them on stage. We had an all company event last month and got them in, and they had the. We didn't really have that dun 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 dun. We didn't have that music, but at least we
Yeah.
had the graphics going. And we had five people present, and they already kind of won because they're on stage, but and there was this vertical app. This way, I won't get into what it was, but I think what it did was actually we gave the opportunity to highlight innovation within the company. It gave recognition, and it also reminded me that I should be looking deeper into our company for innovation. The innovation
Mhm.
doesn't start at the top, and even though my title is Chief Innovation Officer, I by no means have the corner on the market on innovation. And really I think there's a more intrinsic thing of trying to pull the best out of people. And that's deeply rewarding for me at this stage of my career. I'm 54. I got a ways to go. I'm not quite winding down. I'm still ramping up here. So
Oh
I
yeah.
think being able to watch somebody come up with an idea and help them uh, there's this technical idea. How do I do a marketing angle? How do I do a sales angle? How do you go a deeper dive in IT angle? How do I make a customer do it? How do I do an ROI? Be able to take this maybe an entrepreneurship angle, but still have this confines of a stable paycheck and a great company and world class healthcare. We just won some big awards for that recently for our benefits. So I think being able to have that overall picture, like we're at the front end of AI and agentic workflows, and how do we actually really go make this not just for Semitech's benefit, but for the benefit of our customers. So we're pretty deep into rocket design right now, and so how do we help build safer rockets that are lighter, faster, bigger, faster, stronger? It sounds like again sports, but that's kind of the fun part. So we're at the front end of that process, but again, I think there's already a big one. Just our employees know that we want to innovate. We want to pull that innovation and curate it, and build a system and not do it one time. So that's my challenge.
Wow. Yeah. And what do you feel like for you all in the conversation of innovation? What do you feel is fueling, you know, not only you, but the employees' motivation? Like, how do you step in and say, we are doing these crazy projects like the rockets and different things like that? Like, what does that look like?
So I think yeah, kind of question about motivation. I think most people, I don't think that's unique to engineers or scientists or anything, is just being a problem solver. It's one thing to have a really cool idea, but a really cool idea that solves a particular problem or meets a need. That's orders of magnitude more valuable. So I think that's ultimately, and I think that's part of the process that we're going through, is saying, hey, if you have an idea, that's cool. Is your idea something that the market needs? Um, and I and who am I to say sometimes? Sometimes, but I think that's kind of the maybe the organic, the squishy part of the job, is trying to figure out like, hey, we're a VC fund, and maybe I need 100 ideas to find 10 good ones to actually invest in one of them. Like there's certainly a pipeline kind of perspective of how do you filter down, but I think in general, it's the so far the all of the ideas that have come through are addressing problems in the marketplace where this software package and this IT system, there's a gap in like capability, and so we're filling in gaps. And it's almost like they're niche applications, but we we're the largest Synopsys Ansys reseller in Americas. That's a really big market cap for us, or market opportunity. So these niche applications are still really profitable. So we just keep hammering those out and building a business and that builds on top of our core business. And that's just over a long term strategy. Like we've done that before. It's been super profitable for us. We just need to scale it and do more, get more innovation. But again, not just innovation; it's actually profitable innovation. I think that's the challenge. There's lots of really good ideas out there, but how do you get that profitable idea?
Right, right. And it seems like, your why as you're coming through, it sounds like you just problem solving. You love coming in and finding solutions. Is that kind of your why for getting into this and continuing on?
Well, I think Shark Tank was, if in the context of Shark Tank, I think some of that was just, it was fun. And
Yeah.
realizing that we just gone through a merger with a Silicon Valley based company, and there's this is it Donovan's law? I forgot one of them. It's 150 people. The social construct of your company changes. You can't keep all the social relationships, and so you're fundamentally changed. And so we had gone past that, like we were in the 220 range and beyond. And so I couldn't use my, there's a lot of people I don't know. And so how do we actually go create more of a top down, create a structure to go curate the innovation and curate not just the ideas, but actually, hey, here's some business problems that we have. Like here's 10 starter ideas. Who can think of solutions to these problems? So I think that's kind of the corporate. I mean, I think there's another angle maybe you're asking too about me individually. That I'm kind of at a stage where I love to solve problems. I'm an engineer, and that is
Mhm.
intrinsic. Whether it's my junky 3D printer fixing, the bottom of my furniture that my kid broke. There's things like that. I don't build forts anymore, but I've fixed
Yeah.
my pool pump a lot. I feel really good about that. It's really low level there,
So,
um, but there's things like, I still mow my grass. I love mowing grass. That was my first job as 10 years old, lawn mowing company. So love the smell of cut grass. Um,
mhm.
but I think there's also just wanting to see people succeed and just finding deep satisfaction, like personally watching people grow in their career. And that's just whether that's them developing a product, again, not just engineering, but in the business world, watching we've got a huge core talent of individual contributors and young managers that right now that I'm just watching them succeed. And it's just fun. And it's like, I want to be a part of that. I want them to think, hey, this guy helped me in my career. And there's plenty of people like Coach Finelli that I think, even though I wasn't in the professional yet, he got me when I was 18, but they really invested in me. And so it's not so much a pay it forward. Like, a lot of people use that. That's certainly true. And I don't deny that, but that phrase isn't super meaningful to me. It's just, I like to invest in people and like to invest in ideas. And I think there's just destination and journey sort of thing. So I think both matter. One's not more important than the other. But I want I want my reputation within Simutech and even outside of that for the clients that we serve that they know, hey, when Rick comes on site, like, his jokes are really awesome. No, just kidding. And that he steps on site and he's all there to make us more successful. And with trust and integrity. And, yeah, that's what I hope when customers, have me on board or have me on their side or ask questions or let me come in and be consult. So that's kind of a key element in terms of like not an ethos, but just like a goal for me personally, but also as an executive.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And and for somebody who's coming up, the people you invest in, maybe somebody who's younger, wants to get to the level that you've gotten to over your career, what do you typically advise them on? Like, what should they be thinking about? What should they be doing as they come up in their career?
Whew. I think that whether it's a formal degree or not, like education is huge. And even if it's that you're on ChatGPT every night, asking it questions about a certain industry, or I've been asking it a lot about robots lately.
Yeah.
um, robots and cyber cabs and just like the marketing, but also the technology side of it. So I think somebody, to your question, somebody that is wanting to make themselves better, like again, that's personal ambition. It's pretty easy to see when and people come and ask me, "Hey, will you mentor me?" And I'm like, "Well, in what?" And they're like, "Anything." I'm like, "No." Um, like it's pretty easy. And part of that's not so much being a jerk, but actually, they I didn't sense that they were willing to sacrifice. They're not on a mission. They're not willing to educate themselves. They wanted an energy suck, and I wasn't willing to give it. So I think that having a purpose, I think there's certainly personal purpose, the existential purpose. Whether God given on your heart and you're on this mission, on this charge, or anything else like that. Like, so knowing what you want to accomplish, like, how do you know? So I think that, and again, that's maybe the second thing, really, and whatever that is, like, there's an education. There's like, I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to read a book, go to a conference. Um, I think those are key elements. And I think asking that, I think Karis is the Dr. Karras is part of the negotiating skills class and has a famous line, uh, uh, as in life, negotiating as in life, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. Maybe I botched that, but that's the gist of it. And so the point is that you have to be vocal, and you have to ask, like, if you want an opportunity to present in front of the big boss, ask for it. And maybe you get no the first two times. And if you really have the conviction, then go back and be persistent. Persistent matters. But
Mm.
also, it's probably good if they say no the first 2 times, maybe to find out why.
Yeah.
And maybe your presentation stunk or you wore a T-shirt to talk to the execs, like, maybe there's some other things, the soft skills, maybe you said, 50,000 times, so there's a lot of ways to take that, but I think just persistence, and a lot of business talk right now about grit, and I don't think when I was growing up we called it grit. I don't know what it was. I think it was just maybe persistence, or I think it was just an expectation that you're going to get, kicked down, and what are you going to do? Like, you got to get back up. And again, that's cliche, maybe even overly simplistic, but I think it's all a matter of, hey, look, there's some people, not everybody, even maybe listening now, feel like they're alpha male, alpha female, and they have to be the top end achiever. And I hope that I don't, um, I don't want to speak only to this top echelon of the most ambitious people. I think it's more like, hey, look, if you're a stay-at-home mom and that's your job, that you have a mission and that you have a goal for how that you can be the best parent ever. I don't think it's that different. If you're advocating for your kid in front of the school counselors, and being persistent, I think it's the same skill. I think it's just how you accomplish things in life. So I'm hoping, at least at my level, I'm thinking of this multi-level, not just in this very corporate sense, but a little broader. I don't know if that totally works,
Yeah.
uh, but certainly persistence. And again, I don't feel like this is a comprehensive list. These are just things that popped in my head when you asked, but those are kind of some big
Mhm.
ones.
Yeah. And it seems like, whatever you're gonna do it full speed. Do it with everything you got. Is that kind of what's driven you and
Yeah, but
helped
I
you?
but I think even, and I think you can appreciate this as from a decathlete, is that, well, what's the most important event? Like, I don't know, all of them.
Yeah.
Like, they all make points. So I think just
Yeah.
being able to have, the average in everything. No, that's bad advice, life advice. But I do think that there's, I think balance. I think what makes a lot of people great executives is they have great home life, and they're a great dad or a great mom or a great son or daughter. Right? There's this. So I think having that balance and not this myopic focus on a single goal, those people aren't real fun to hang out with sometimes. And
Yeah.
I actually put myself in that, and I won't say at what point of my career, but earlier in my athletic career, I think I was a talented jerk. I was win at all cost. And I thought that was it. I mean, you could just, I can level up. I'm going up the chain, and I'm just here to win, and winning is all that matters. And pretty soon, I saw that that was a pretty lonely place to be. Even if you're successful and you're back to destination and journey, and like, okay, I got this, whatever stage of my life, I got the destination, but this journey sucks.
Yeah,
Well,
Rick, I think you just explained my college experience in athletics to a T.
that's funny.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, I had a phenomenal journey. I didn't get the destination. I didn't get my goals, but I had some phenomenal experiences, phenomenal teammates, and this other, even the academic experience was second to none. But I do think there's this point of, I don't say moderation, but I think that's even, from in my own life, I'm a Christian. I love God. There's this point of, I believe that God frees me up, and to actually go, once, I think that humility is a big part of that. Once there is this humility, and once there is the direction, I think that, I feel like I can go be the best. But that also means that work is my fourth priority in life. And,
Mm,
maybe some, when I wasn't married, didn't have kids, then, sports, maybe it was that same sort of analogy. But I think for me, just being able to have, wife and kids is high priority. With God number one, wife and kids, and then job. So I tell people when they join Semitech, like, hey, look, just so you know, like, so if Semitech's your number one priority in life, that's your call. It doesn't have to be. That's not a requirement for working here. Here it is for me. Here's kind of my story, and I thought I'd work here 1 year, and it's been 23. So I think just
mm,
having that focus and having that perspective of, like, this is my place in the world. These are my priorities. Didn't always work out that way. I still miss birthdays. I'm on the road or things like that, but
right.
just at a philosophical level, here's my priority, and I think that's been what again, whatever priorities anybody else is, I think knowing where work is, if you're a slave to work and you do anything to work, is that the right is that the right balance? Like, how do you balance friends? How do you balance a social life? How do you balance all the other things that you need to do? So, and I don't, this is not a prescriptive. I think that's to each their own in that respect. But that's kind of my journey, and I think having balance, which I don't feel like I always have. I think the desire for balance is maybe the common thread. Not that I had balance in all those time periods, but I think that's, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good endpoint there, but
Yeah.
I think it's good to stand in the mirror and ask yourself, do I have balance? Is this what I wanted?
Yeah. That's amazing, man. And you have amazing advice. Like all these lessons learned over time. Yeah. People are definitely going to take a lot of lessons learned. But I want to take a minute, for you to talk about Tech and anything exciting you'll have on the horizon that you'd like to speak about. Um,
Whew.
I'd love to leave it
Yeah.
open for you.
So, you mentioned a little bit before, so we're about 220 people. We've been around in some levels of acquisition for over 40 years. So the roots of what we do is we do virtual product development for physical products inside of computers. So take physics algorithms, supercomputers, and 3D models and material properties, and I can tell you if a rocket's going to fly or how bad a car's going to be damaged. I can do all that inside a computer using, a lot of good algorithms, and I don't have to build physical prototypes. So I'm an engineer. I love building things. You learn a lot from that. But I think in terms of accelerating, that's kind of our business model. So we pretty deep into physics and computational side. But that's about a third of our company. Like we have a large sales team, large marketing, operations, finance. So that's kind of our company. But I think what's exciting to me, and I feel like AI is a cliche to say now, like big data. If you're 20 years ago, big data, nobody knew what it meant, but it was cool to say. I think that now it's really about how to, with the hyperscalers really pushing hard, spending trillions, whatever, how many, and AI build
Mhm.
out. There's this kind of day of reckoning coming, and not that I foresee a crash or anything like that, but just like ROI and the economic side of these investments is going to play out. And so I think that we were at that same intersection on the simulation side of look, people use our software because it does help them get the time to market faster. They can build in more reliability and higher performance into their turbine blades, their rocket, their jets. Again, their the headset for VR, whatever it is. It's anything that does structural thermal fluids, electromagnetics. But I think that intersection of all those and like, okay, how do we accelerate further, and how does AI help us get there? And it really comes down to time. If it takes you 3 months to develop a product, how do I, the engineering design cycle up front, how do I get to two? And those are hard things to do. So I think being able to be at that front end of knowing, the top companies in the world use Ansys and Synopsys software to go design. How do we actually leverage that? Not just the capability, but now the expertise to go launch, I was going to say rockets, but launch workflows that are just that much faster. So I think being able to take that expertise that Simutech has and actually push that to our customers. I mean, we've been doing that for years, building workflow is kind of buzzword, but that's really one of the things that AI gives us. And AI, there's lots of ways of looking at AI, but for us being able to do workflow AI and then also like 3D design. So if I now I want to know like this external aerodynamics, I can go get an answer within minutes, whereas might take days and pass for really complicated models. So that's a cool capability. How do I get business value from that? So again, that's one of the real challenges I think. To me, it's even like a fundamental difference between engineering and science. Science, um, love them scientists going off and building crazy cool capabilities and taking engineering, which really takes like the time and the money element of that. Um, and so being able to have an economics and have what maybe I'll say a business view, which really means economics and time, and just being able to accelerate products. So I think that's one of the things that I typically, you talk about motivations, but I take a lot of pride knowing that I helped design some early stage rockets from some of the rocket companies out there, or that some of our team members have actually gone and done like 0.1% improvement on this turbo machinery, which sounds completely worthless when you think about how many millions of tons of CO2 that reduces over the lifespan of that product. So I think a lot of what we do is very incremental, and a lot of it's maybe less tertiary, but there's still a significant amount that are these big step functions. Like we're involved in really cool rollouts, and I think that's just kind of the benefit and why I think a lot of semi tech employees love working there is we get to be on the front row of like some of the coolest technology. And even though we're assisting other people doing it, we got a front row seat to watching people just design the coolest things in the whole world. And so as long as we can keep that culture and keep pushing limits on taking the new technology and implementing it and stumbling along the way and make some mistakes. But again, I think as from a semi tech perspective, having a great team and I don't know. That's what makes it. I want to keep that culture going, and that's what makes it fun to show up at work.
Yeah. I love it, man. I love it. And so many lessons packed in this episode. So
Yeah.
I want to thank you for your time, for sharing your knowledge and expertise, especially in, a exciting time like this to be a chief innovation officer where everything's moving exponentially. But
No, hey, look, I remember just seeing. I felt like it was a great conversation to have, and to find the common thread. Like we're brothers. Under from Chinelli, and yeah, that gets me in the heart, man. Hey, man.
yeah.
And so that's really awesome. But I think that I hope that one of the takeaways is that there's um, getting it right the first time is a good thing to do, and it's a good aspiration. But I think in life, a lot of times you get it right the third time, and that having a humble attitude and being bold. I mean, a lot of times they go into meetings. I say, "Hey guys, bold humility, bold humility." It seems like a contradiction, but it's not. And I think that that's kind of for me what I want to do. The vibe I want to go through life is bold humility. So I appreciate you reaching out.
Yeah, of course. I love it. Alrighty, Rick. Close up.